All right, guys, we're going to cruise on to lesson 4.5, correlations and causation. So the big idea today is that, we can often find relationships or see relationships between things, but the question that is going to be posed today is, does one of those things actually cause the other one? All right, so we'll look at a number of different examples in which it may or may not be caused, the trend line may or may not be caused by something else that is going on. So let's cruise into it. Correlations are simply relationships between two variables. We kind of talked about that. So it's a relationship between two different variables. We call it a correlation. And you can see that the word relations in the word there, correlation. So relationship between two variables. Make sure that's in your notes. Causation is when a change in one variable actually causes a change in another. And this is a good way of actually, looking at this definition is a good way of actually identifying whether or not something has causation. Does a change in one cause a change in the other? Okay, that's a good question to ask. So here's an example. I've already done the graph for you guys just to not waste the time putting all the dots on there, but you could pause the video here and do this. Just notice, for some reason, the formatting here does not let me put this side by side. So this should actually be up here. So the 17 is linked to the 149, the 51 is linked to the 448, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so get those dots on there for example 1. And then take a look at the data, and there's a number of questions about that. So 1B says, does this show positive or negative correlation? Well, from left to right, if you were to draw a line through here, the line would definitely have a positive slope, right? A line of fit through here would have a positive slope, so that's how I can identify, this is positive in nature. So if I drew a line through the data points, I'd get a positive slope. From left to right, it's going up. So it'd be positive. And then it says 1C, determine whether the data shows causation. Does one variable cause the other? Could other factors be influencing the results? Well, in this graph, I don't know if I've given you all the details for the graph, but you can see from the title here that we're looking at hours worked and the pay that you received. So it would make sense that your pay would go up as your hours worked goes up, right? So we could say yes, that there is causation. Pay depends on the number of hours that you work. Okay. Example 2, they don't have you graph here. They're just asking you questions about causation. And this is the last example, and this is a very short lesson, so you guys should have plenty of time to finish your homework in class. But this says here, for example 2, does the situation illustrate causation? When mixing OJ from concentrate, there is a negative correlation between the amount of water added and the concentration of the orange juice. Okay, so it's just saying, like, as I add water, does the concentration of the orange juice drop? And yes, that does make sense. That would be a causation, right, for the concentration to drop. If I'm adding more water, the orange juice is going to become more and more watery. So there's a definite relation and causation that's happening. So the answer to 2A would be yes. Now, 2B says, Teresa sells crafts at a local flea market. She noticed that there was a positive correlation between the number of necklaces and the number of, this should say toy, it might say toe in your notes, the number of toy puppets that she sells each day. So do you think that there is a causation here? Do you think that somebody buying necklaces actually causes them to also buy toy puppets? And you might be able to come up with some kind of far-fetched argument that that's the case, but typically we would say that no, if somebody's coming for a necklace, they're not necessarily causing the number of toy puppets sales to increase. So you would say no to this one. All right, so that's all you're really doing in the homework. You're going to do a little bit of graphing. You're going to look at whether or not something has causation. And that is it. So you're going to do 1 through 15 odds. If you don't have a homework sheet, feel free to do it on line paper. And we'll see you guys next time.